Frieren is honestly one of the best anime I've ever watched. It's not about the crazy fights, not about the mind-blowing plot twists, it just really captures the feeling of adventuring. I mean the actual day-to-day version of adventuring. Walking on foot, stopping by random towns, cooking, chatting, getting sick, arguing over small stuff, watching someone sulk, watching her get caught by a mimic again for the 100th time. But I also get why some people say it's boring. Broadly speaking, it's just slice of life about a group of adventurers. The Demon King is already defeated. There's no huge urgent mission hanging over their heads. So if that's the case, why does this anime touch so many heart? Why does something so simple feel so meaningful? I've been trying to explain this to myself, and honestly I'm still kind of confused. It's not exactly slow burn. Slow burn usually builds up slowly and then explodes. Frieren doesn't really explode. It rises, but not too high. It feels more like it spreads, like emotions just quietly expand instead of spike. And when I try to think, okay, what was the climax of Season 1? Was it a fight? Was it aura? Was it something else? I genuinely don't know. And that's what's been stuck in my head. If the fights aren't the main climax, if the plot isn't built around big dramatic turns, then what exactly is making this so special? Why did Season 2, Episode 1 instantly bring back that same feeling? So yeah, I just want to yap about it. A lot of people say Frieren is slow, some even say it's boring, and honestly, I get it. If you go into it expecting a typical fantasy anime, you're probably waiting for the next big threat, the next insane boss fight. But the funny thing is, the Demon King is already defeated before the story even begins. The biggest climax already happened off screen. So the show isn't about saving the world, it's about what happens after you already did. Once the war's over, what's left? Just time, just memories, just the quiet walk back home. Most shonen stories build toward defeating the final boss. Frieren starts there and then asks, okay, now what? What does it mean to live after your greatest achievement? What does it mean to outlive the people who made that achievement possible? That's why when people call it boring, I feel like they're kind of missing the point. The story isn't trying to keep you on edge. It's not trying to constantly spike your adrenaline. It's showing the emotional consequences of an adventure, the aftermath. And maybe that's why I can't even clearly point at one big climax. Because the real tension isn't about winning fights. It's about slowly realizing what you failed to understand when it actually mattered. And the more I think about it, the more I realize the story flow is just different. I keep wanting to call it slow burn, but that doesn't feel accurate. Slow burn usually means it's building toward something big. With Frieren, it doesn't feel like it's climbing a mountain, it feels like it's spreading across a field. The emotions don't spike, they settle. Even the big moments, like the fight against Aura, are cool and satisfying, but they don't feel like the emotional peak of the series. They feel like events inside a much bigger emotional process. When I tried to rewatch it lightly, just skimming through episodes to see what really stuck with me, I noticed something kind of funny. The moments I loved the most is not the battles. It was them walking, talking, cooking, Frieren sulking, Fern being annoyed, small awkward conversations, random town requests. These are moments that normally would just pass by in other anime, background stuff. But here, they are the point. And I think that's why it's hard to remember a single climax, because the show trains you to care about ordinary things. The emotional weight isn't concentrated in one explosive scene. It's distributed across dozens of tiny interactions. You don't realize you're attached until suddenly a simple sunrise scene hits home. Maybe it's about learning to notice some parts you usually ignore. There's one pattern I started noticing that kind of feels like the core of the whole show. It's those déjà vu moments. Frieren experiences something small in the present, and suddenly it connects to something from her old adventure with Himmel, Heider, Eisen, or even Flamme. Like when Fern correctly guesses what food Frieren wants to order, and Frieren remembers Himmel doing the exact same thing. Back then, she was confused how Himmel could know her preferences so well, while she didn't even know his. The answer was simple. They traveled together for years. She just never paid attention. It keeps happening. The sunrise invitation she once rejected with Himmel, now she accepts with Fern. The fight against Aura only works because of Flamme's old instruction to suppress her mana her entire life. Even her victories come from memories she didn't fully value at the time. That's why the flashbacks are always longer than the fights sometimes. The real turning point isn't the action, it's the realization. Frieren isn't learning brand new lessons, she's finally understanding lessons that were already given to her a long time ago. Another thing that makes it feel different is how the flashbacks are handled. In most anime, you can clearly tell when it's about to switch to the past. The colors change, the screen fades, there's some dramatic cue telling you, okay, this is memory time. But in Frieren, sometimes it just cuts straight into the past. The only real clue is who's standing next to her. If Himmel, Heider, or Eisen are there, then yeah, we're in the past. But visually, Frieren looks the same, her tone is the same, the world doesn't feel that different. And I think that's intentional. It makes her past and present feel almost connected, like they're overlapping instead of being separate chapters. Because for Frieren, the past isn't something she moved on from, it's still active inside her. Every new moment with Fern or Stark is kind of a response to something that already happened decades ago. It's like her first adventure never really ended, it just changed form. And that's why it feels like the journey with Himmel is still ongoing, even though he's gone. Now about Himmel. I'm still kind of confused how to label their relationship, because whenever people see a close guy and girl dynamic, the automatic conclusion is romance. And yeah, Himmel clearly had romantic gestures. I get why people see it that way, but when I watch it, it doesn't fully feel like a typical love story. It feels different. More than friends, but not framed like a romance either. It's special, that's for sure, but not in a dramatic, lovey way. What makes Himmel interesting to me is that he's kind of narcissistic, but also genuinely kind. He calls himself handsome, he wants statues, he wants to be remembered as a hero. On paper, that sounds like a red flag, but then you see him go out of his way to help strangers for no reward. When Frieren asks why he helps people, he basically says, maybe it's for himself. Maybe he wants to be remembered. And honestly, that's such a human answer. We all want some kind of reward. If the reward is just being remembered by the people we helped, that's not exactly evil narcissistic. And he's not blindly naive either. The child demon incident proves that. He chooses to believe there might be hope, but when it goes wrong and people get hurt, he doesn't argue. He accepts he was wrong and moves forward. Same with the hero sword. He just says, fine, fake hero or not, I'll defeat the Demon King anyway. That's such a grounded response. That's why it makes sense that Frieren uses him as her moral compass. The more the story goes on, the more I realize this anime is really about time. Frieren casually says things like just 10 years, just 20 years, just 50 years, and every time she says that, I'm like, what do you mean just? For her, that's nothing. She's lived over 1,000 years. A decade is a short nap, but for humans, 10 years can completely change your life. You can lose someone. You can become someone else entirely. And what's interesting is that after Himmel dies, the show keeps counting time from that moment. 10 years since Himmel's death. 20 years since Himmel's death. It's like his passing becomes her new calendar. For someone who barely cared about time before, suddenly she's measuring it through loss. Regret is what finally forces her to feel the weight of time. It's kind of uncomfortable to think about. She had all the time in the world and still didn't understand what she had until it was gone. And that hits close to home, because even though we don't live for 1,000 years, we still act like we have unlimited chances. We assume there will be another trip, another convo, another sunrise. Sometimes I wonder what Frieren actually represents. Is she showing us what humans would become if we had 1,000 years to live? Would we also keep delaying things, thinking we'll understand later, we'll appreciate people later, we'll fix it later? Or is she showing something more honest, that no matter how long you live, you're never fully done learning, because even with all her time, she still needs to be reminded again and again. She still misunderstands people, she still regrets. So maybe it's not about lifespan. Maybe it's about the fact that growth just doesn't have a final level. And that's probably why the title is Beyond Journey's End. The grand adventure already finished. The Demon King is gone. The ending happened. But life keeps going. Reflection starts. Real understanding starts. Sometimes the real lessons only appear after everything is over. And then there's this slow living part. Frieren could probably move way faster if she wanted to. She's strong enough. Magic exists. But she still chooses to walk. She walks from town to town with Fern and Stark. They stop for random requests. They stay longer than needed. It feels like she's choosing to experience the road instead of skipping it. Himmel was like that too. He once chose the harder path just because he wanted to enjoy the adventure more. And that makes me think about us. We're always trying to optimize everything. Fastest route, quickest result. But life isn't always about arriving. Sometimes walking slower makes you notice more. Of course, we don't have 1,000 years like Frieren, so we can't drift forever. But maybe the point is balance. Move fast when you need to. Slow down when you can. Actually feel the journey instead of just finishing it. So yeah, After thinking about all this, I think that's why Frieren hits me the way it does. It's not about cool fights. It's not about dramatic twists. It's about regret, memory, and time quietly doing their job. It's about realizing too late that someone understood you better than you understood them. It's about getting a second chance, not to redo the past, but to respond to it better in the present. Watching Frieren makes me a little uncomfortable in a good way, because it forces me to ask simple questions. Am I paying attention to the people around me right now, or am I assuming I'll understand them later? Am I rushing to the next goal, or actually noticing the road? We don't get 1,000 years to figure it out. But even if we did, the people around us might not. Maybe that's why Season 2, Episode 1 instantly brought back that feeling. It's like the journey never really ended, it just keeps going. And honestly, I'm grateful I randomly started this series. It feels like one of those stories that quietly changes how you look at time. But that's just how I see it. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm wrong about Himmel. Maybe you see their relationship completely differently. So tell me what you think, and let me know which character I should deep dive next. If you enjoyed this kind of video, you know what to do. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new, maybe hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for watching, seriously.